So dudes, it's your boy Tuhu. Somewhat recently, Limbus Company had a collab with Arknights in which several Arknights operators, Skadi, Kal'tsit, Ling, and Melinar, got turned into egos for several Limbus Company characters to use. Just one quick question, outside of story, where the fuck is the donkey? Just like my Genshin video last week or so where I complained about how awful Genshin's Masterless Stella is, I'm well aware of how late I am talking about this. Picked up a side hustle not too long ago and been pretty busy with that. So before I completely forget about this, and because back when it was still going on, I had quite a few people come to my stream and ask me about it, or what I thought about it anyway, I want to make a video talking about the Limbus and Arknights collab, and why I think it fucking sucks. Actually, let me take some of it back. I don't actually think it sucks complete dick. That was just me doing my best gacha content creator impression, where they think content is either a complete W or a complete L with absolutely no in between. I only have a problem with one very specific aspect of the collab, but it's such an important aspect to me anyway, that I can dedicate an entire video to that and that alone. I'm talking about the fact that there are no playable standalone Arknights operators in the Limbus Company collaboration event. What do I mean by that? Simple. When a gacha game has a collaboration event, right, most of the time that collab involves the gacha putting in standalone characters from the IP that they're collabing with as the premium gacha pulls. And when you pull them, they enter your account as their own characters. They aren't tied to other pre-existing characters in the game in any way, like they're just skins or ultimate moves for those characters. Nah, they are their own unique entities that can also be upgraded, take gear, and play the game just like every other character in the game. This is quite literally the only thing that I care about in a gacha collab. As long as we get unique characters out of the collab in question, the rest of the event itself can suck as much dick as it wants to for all I care. Like, they can rename the event to St. Tontus or something with how much that dude loves to suck Tectone's dick. Or at least used to. Probably still does. And the reasons why I'm so anal about this one condition is that gacha games are all about the characters in them. This is something that I say time and time again, whether in videos or on stream. When you play a gacha game, you play them for the characters, for like a waifu or a husbando, or even just someone you enjoy playing. Gachas sell you their characters through their, well, gachas.
Say that again?
So naturally they put a lot of their effort and resources into designing their characters to be as appealing as possible to their players, whether through looks or gameplay. I'd go so far as to say that if you play gacha games without having anyone at all that you genuinely enjoy playing, like no waifu, no husbando, like hell, I'd even consider playing exclusively meta characters to still be a legitimate form of gacha enjoyment. But if you have like no character at all that you truly like playing, then I'ma be real with you, man, I think you're wasting your time. It's not that I'm telling you to like quit gacha games or anything, though that is something that I would love to say to a lot of gacha players on Twitter. It's more that I see you as not really playing gacha as intended. And I don't mean that in like a purist way or anything, like, oh, you're not playing my precious gacha games the correct way, go drink bleach type shit, like none of that. It's more like watching someone first, like, getting into, like, fighting games, for example, but they don't know how to block, so they just keep taking fireballs to the face. Just like how Styx keeps taking gacha sponsors to the face and pretends that he's a fan of them. More on that in a future video. Like, I ain't gonna tell you how to play, but I do feel like there are better ways to enjoy it, you know? So if you ain't got a character that you like playing in a gacha, you're honestly better off just playing a regular game and not even wasting your time with that gacha. So you might be able to guess what my reaction was when I first found out that, yeah, there wouldn't be any actual playable Arknights IDs in the Limbus Company collab. What the fuck, Project Moon? Given the way I worded that, you might be able to infer that this was something that I was kind of expecting, and you'd be right. Let me be transparent with you, I don't play Limbus Company, not yet anyway. It's one of the gacha games that I've always kind of had my eye on. and to like try out eventually, but my 17 gacha games that I'm currently playing got me preoccupied a bit with, oh, I don't know, like 5 or 6 more on the docket when they come out over the next year or two. Oh, and I have a whole stream incentive going on where if I can fully support myself with nothing but content creation, I will immediately pick up 2 gacha games. 1, Limbus Company, and 2, Reverse 1999, and add them to my double-digit gacha rotation. The Arknights collab had the potential to drag my ass in right then and there. But knowing what I know about Limbus as a casual observer, I knew that most likely the collab wasn't gonna be what I was looking for. The premise of Limbus as a gacha is that you have like a set crew of like, I don't know, like a dozen characters or something, called Sinners, I believe. And you pull for different versions of them from gacha, called identities or something like that. And you can also pull for egos, which are, as I understand them, supposed to be like ultimate moves for those characters. This means that Limbus Company technically doesn't get new characters. They just keep coming out with like new versions of the characters that they already have. Now, I've been told that Limbus wasn't originally supposed to be a gacha game. PM just kind of turned it into one because apparently I think fans wanted them to, and because they needed the money. On top of which, the game itself has lore that explains why I believe unique IDs can't exist, at least not in like the collab sense. So Limbus not getting any new unique characters out of this collab makes more sense with that context. Like, I'm not out here trying to question Limbus lore or anything, it is what it is. But unfortunately, again, in the context of a collaboration event, that means that for me specifically, the Arknights collab was pretty much DOA. Rest in peace, Itagaki. No new characters means no standalone Arknights operators, and sure enough, the handful of Arknights characters that they did get just turned into egos for some of the Limbus characters themselves. And this bums me out so fucking much, man. And there's layers to this too. Unlike most gacha content creators out there who chase the bag and then fucking ditch it for clout, I think I remember a bald-ass retard once telling me to not bite the hand that feeds you or something. Funnily enough, he ditched the woo-woo crowd too. Anyways, I'm genuinely interested in picking up Limbus Company one of these days. So why don't I just play it now then, right? I already played 17 different gachas. What exactly is stopping me? What's stopping me is the story. As in, I want to sit down and take the time to read the story. Juggling double-digit gachas takes quite a bit of time, I think it's safe to say. And now that I have a side hustle, I got even less time to spend on my 17 gacha games and counting. I have to sacrifice something about the gacha games I play if I want to keep playing them all and pick up even more in the future. And that something, in most cases, has to be story. The only gacha that I bother reading story for anymore is FGO, and I consider FGO to have, bar none, the best story in the gacha space. Yes, even better than Limbus, I'm sorry. But even so, Limbus' story still intrigues me quite a bit. Not only do I have people come into my stream on a regular basis telling me how goated Limbus' story is, but I have an idea about Project Moon's story quality already. I lurked in Lakari's stream when he grinded out both Lobocorp and Library Aruina. I even watched a Lobocorp lore video through his stream too. In an age where Hoyotards and Wuwakucks glaze their own respective stories as like the best in the business, and yes, I do play all 4 of those games too, how could you tell? It's very rare for a gacha to have a story that grabs my attention at all, like to any degree. The wushu slop, the god complex, good morality, harem simulator that Chinese gacha stories tend to devolve into in their efforts to hit mainstream popularity in mainland China, just like what Genshin did 5 years ago, it really does get to a point. I mean, it's kind of ironic though that, it's now Genshin whose story is apparently actually getting pretty good now with Notcry, so hey, credit where credit is due. So as someone who calls himself the god of gacha, both as a branding tactic and to piss off the rats known as gacha content creators, I hold Limbus Company in particularly high regard, to the point where I am committed to reading its story from start to finish if and when I do pick it up. And as you might be able to tell, I don't do that for just any gacha game. And on the topic of Arknights itself, I made a video earlier this year glazing Arknights as like the single best gacha game that I currently play out of all my gacha games. So when Ginji-hun first announced the collab event, I was like, oh shit, am I going to be playing Limbus Company pretty soon? Turns out no. not yet. What especially triggers me about the situation is that it's Arknights. This collab is, no cap, the first instance of a collab where a gacha is working with another gacha, at least as far as I'm concerned. Every other gacha collab that I've seen is when a gacha works with a non-gacha IP. Evangelion and Nier and Fate as in the visual novel or the anime, not FGO, are some of the more popular ones. So at first, I was especially excited about this Arknights Limbus collab simply because of the unprecedented nature of it all, at least for me personally. So for Project Moon to, in my eyes anyway, fumble this so hard, double jeopardies the shit out of me. Not only could this have been such a cooler collab given that it's a gacha collabing with another gacha when that almost never happens, but on top of that, it's with Arknights. This had the potential to be a monumental collab, a generational collab even, but I guess now that I think about it, it actually never did. I know there's no point in me pondering over this now. The Arknights collab is gone already, I'm pretty sure, but I want to get this out there anyway. How seriously do you have to take your own lore to prevent collab characters from being a thing in your gacha game? When gacha games do collabs, they feature collab characters. Hell, most of the time, the devs also write a little event story where those collab characters interact with the gacha's own unique characters and their world. It's usually nothing serious, right? The collab characters usually find themselves teleported to the gacha world that they're collabing with, and they're just trying to find their way back home or something. But the important part is that they still exist in that gacha as standalone characters. Even if it doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever for those collab units to be in the gacha that they're in, the devs of the gacha were willing to just hand wave their own lore just so that their own players can enjoy having those characters at all. Does it make sense, for example, for Nikke to have Ada Wong from Resident Evil? Where the hell did Rem come from? Why the shit is Miku in Blue Archive? Who the fuck greenlit the Star Rail UBW collab? Better question, does it matter? There are people who play those gachas, right, who are also fans of those collab characters, and not only is it hilarious to have those kinds of collab characters exist in gachas that you wouldn't expect them to be in, but I'm sure also to those players, most of them are just happy to have them at all. A huge part of the reason why collaboration events exist at all in the first place is to attract new players. People who either previously never played that gacha in question, or just straight up never played a gacha at all. But now that this gacha is doing a collab with an IP that they are familiar with, suddenly they're interested. It's not a guarantee that if they do pick it up, they'll stick with it, of course. But if they do, hey, that means the collab did its job. And now the gacha has another new dedicated player who will now keep up with their game. Even supported too, perhaps, by paying money for future characters or other items. So the question becomes, why was Limbus Company incapable of doing this too? I assume the main answer is due to lore restrictions, something about multiple universes and paradoxes and stuff like that. But the fact that Project Moon decided against standalone Arknights IDs is very disappointing because that tells me that the game takes its own lore way too fucking seriously. Don't get me wrong, a game having solid lore and a Kino story is great. That's what all games, gacha or not, should aspire to have, if so desired, I would hope. But I start to have a problem with the lore side of things, or the story side of things, when it starts to get in the way of content. Some examples include FGO not having any collabs that don't involve the fucking Nasuverse in some way, shape, or form, and Genshin to this day, 5 years later, still not having a fucking skip button, because Hoyo writers have their heads shoved up so far up their own assholes that they give Tectone a run for his money that he got selling his house after kicking Genizod out of it. Want proof? Look no further than the Himeko killer himself, Shaoji. All of these are examples of gacha devs taking their own story or lore too seriously and directly degrading the player experience, at least in my opinion, for those gachas as a result, whether intentional or not. You can have the most absolute cinema story ever and lore so good that YouTubers can make a living off that shit for years like it's a Soulsborne. But for me, if that means that the devs now have an excuse to shove hours of a story that I don't personally care for down my fucking throat, or that I have to deal with the possibility that a certain gacha will never have a collaboration event worthy of the name, that is simply unacceptable to me. And I'm not singling out Limbus Company here either. Like I said before, FGO has had events that it calls collabs, but they're all with other Nasuverse IPs, which means that they're all already part of the same lore and universe anyway to begin with. And more importantly, this means that we'll also never see what happens when a non-Nasuverse IP gets involved, at least not until FGO's story is done, and who knows how long that'll take, when it's already taking so goddamn long for Nasu to go finish Farside. I give FGO shit for that all the time, and I already told you what I think about FGO's story. I want to end the video on this. While the vast majority of gacha collabs are proper collabs, that give actual standalone units, Limbus Company's collab with Arknights actually is not the first of its kind, as in the way they handled it. A few years ago, another gacha game called Counterside, the one that Mr. Pokey used to play but toss aside like a used condom to go main Star Rail, just like a lot of other Big Four content creators also did something very similar. They had a collab with Hololive, specifically with EN Gen 1 Holomyth, back when Gura wasn't fed up with cover and Amelia wasn't fully relegated to tech support yet. Back then, I was huge on watching VTubers, corporate VTubers specifically, and Holomyth holds a special place in my heart to this day, as they should for any prehistoric VTuber fan. And when I heard about this collab for the first time, I got excited for it too, and started thinking about picking up Counterside. Sound familiar? And then I learned what that collab was really like. The Holo Girls weren't standalone units. No, they were just skins for already existing characters in the game. I remember as soon as I heard that back then, I felt my brain blue screening because I couldn't process how fucking retarded that was. You're telling me that if I want to obtain and use the Holo Girls in Counterside, not only do I have to spend money to buy their skin packs or bundles or whatever, or in other words, they're paywalled, but I also have to first pull the characters that can equip those skins to begin with? What's especially hilarious is that Azure Lane, another gacha game that I play, had their own Hololive collab back in 2019, before VTubers blew up the next year and before Coco, went and pissed off all of West Taiwan. Sora, Fubuki, Mio, IMN, Matsuri, Shion, and Aqua were all their own characters whom you could pull or grind for. Matter of fact, they even made Fubuki their very first destroyer in the game who could launch aircraft for some reason, when normally only carriers can do that. Not sure why, but she can. And that shit is both hilarious and cool. And then I look back to the Counterside collab and, yeah. Both these collabs will never come back, by the way, but at least in Azure Lane, I have the pleasure of having them and using them in battle, because they are their own characters. I even gave them all marriage rings in that game too, just to give them funny little nicknames because haha, meme's funny. Also, whenever gachas do have collab events, the collab units themselves are immediately accessible in gacha, so there's a chance that if your luck is on point, you can get them instantly. And that gives you motivation to continue playing the game. Well, usually. But by gating collab units behind barriers like paywalls or other units, you almost entirely remove one of the biggest draws about a collab event in the first place. The way Limbus Company handled their Arknights collab reminded me instantly of that Counterside collab with Hololive. Both were collabs that didn't feature standalone collab units, and because I'm Korean myself, I feel an existential obligation to point out to you that both of those gacha games were also developed by Koreans. No gacha is perfect, I know that very well, but man, out of all the things that Project Moon decides to fuck up, it's this? I guess all great stories have their price, huh? And I suppose I only have myself to blame after all these years playing FGO. But fuck me, man. What a wasted opportunity. At least for me personally. A complete fumble of a collab that was so goddamn cool otherwise. Now, if you'll excuse me, I guess I'll just go distort myself as I listen to Himemori Rie of Face Connect rank Limbus IDs according to her, dick. Thanks for watching. Drop a like and a sub if you enjoyed the video, and check out the Patreon if you want to support me even further. Check out the stream either here on YouTube or over on Twitch, and I'll see y'all in the next one.
Make 変装する